Hello and welcome to Ignite. This week I'm here with Erica Moore from Etiquette. Erica, welcome.
Hello there, thank you for having me.
Well, you're so welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you here. Erica, could you start off by just giving us a quick intro into Etiquette, please?
Yes, so at Etiquette we are all about sourcing specialty tea from all over the world, and we encourage people to use that pause for tea so that they can rebalance their mind and body and ultimately get a little bit more out of their everyday. So we have a tea space in Leith in Edinburgh where we host events, we do tea meditations, tea training, that sort of thing, and we sell online all over the world, and we also work with lots of trade and hospitality businesses all over the UK and a bit further afield as well.
Fantastic. Well, I have my tea here, so we'll have a nice pause conversation.
Snap.
Really, yours is much prettier than mine. So I'd love to start off by just learning a little bit about your background. So where are you from originally? Where did you go to school? And what were you like when you were in school?
Okay, so I went to Gourock High School, which is on the West Coast on the River Clyde. And at school, I was incredibly shy and I kind of followed the crowd. I never really paused long enough to think, what do I want to do? I'm very much a people pleaser. I was very ambitious, so I wanted to do the best I could. So in my mind, the best to aim for was doctor or lawyer. That's how creative I got. That was the extent of it. And I generally faint at the sight of blood. So that was it. I'll be a lawyer. I wasn't a straight A student or anything. I had to work really hard for my grades. But I'd set myself that goal. I can't be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. And I managed to do it. I got onto a law degree course, which everyone in my family was very happy about.
And what were your favorite subjects in school?
Oh, favourite subjects. Do you know, looking back, I enjoyed English and a few other things, but actually, there wasn't anything that I absolutely loved. I didn't have really that one subject. I guess English was it, and I did a bit of music, but I wasn't particularly good at it. And I just always thought, I think I'd always had in my head that I wasn't creative, so I can't draw, still can't draw to this day. But I do use drawing in my work nowadays, but just to get my ideas onto paper and then I pass it to someone else who makes it look amazing. So yeah, there's other ways to be creative. You don't need to have to draw.
Exactly. And
Um,
actually, your business is inherently a creative business, really. So, okay, so I'm guessing since you said you wanted to be a lawyer, that becoming an entrepreneur was not in your sights at all.
Not on my radar whatsoever. Not at all.
So you finished school, you went on to study law, and then what happened?
So I went on to study law at Strathclyde in Glasgow, and then thought actually I had met my husband at that point. He was also doing law, so we decided that we would go and do English law after having done a Scottish law degree, which meant I had the great privilege of going to the College of Law in Chester. Then I was double certified, and then after I managed to get a job in a really good law firm, a litigation law firm in London, just off Fleet Street. And it was all, yeah, I thought I was Ally McBeal, takeaway coffee.
Young people won't know what that means, will they?
No, they will not, and they shouldn't.
There's a television show that was about a young, quirky, aspiring, incredible lawyer, right?
Yeah, so Ally McBeal was held up as this, you can be a trendy lawyer, you can go and drink coffee and have fun and just like go to court all day and do really amazing things. So that was what I thought life was going to be like. And I was a lawyer for about, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, something like that. And at the start it was really exciting. I have to say it's a great training and it stands me in good stead today. And I'm really grateful and glad that I've done it. So I've learnt a lot from it, and I think it's really important to take as many opportunities as you can and learn from as many different people as you can. So as part of your lawyer training or your apprenticeship, as they called it then, you have to go around to different seats. You're moved around every 6 months, which means you're learning from different people and learning different things all the time, which was really useful and stood me in good stead. And that variety kept it really exciting. But then as you get more and more qualified, I got into insurance and reinsurance litigation, and it just was very, very technical and not always as fast moving. Some of the cases had been going on for like 5 years plus, and over that period of time I had developed some back problems because I was sitting down so long every day. I got to the point where it was really sort of affecting my health and my mobility, and then I just had this moment in the bath before I went into work one day, and I just thought I could die tomorrow. So start with the end in mind. Whenever I can, I try and remember that, because I think it really helps to start from the end and work backwards. And I just could fast forward my life to however long I'm lucky enough to be on this earth and thought, no, there's more to life. This isn't it for me. I'm here for a different reason. And yeah, I decided that day what it was that I was going to do. I just made a decision, and that same day I found loose leaf tea, and I have never looked back. I was just obsessed from that day onwards.
So the day you kind of decided there's something more out there that I want to do, you immediately knew that it was entrepreneurship and it was tea. It was that much of a light bulb moment.
No, I didn't have a clue what it was. I just made that decision that I was going to find what it was that I was really passionate about, and I was going to have it sorted that day. So I'd made the decision, just did loads of research and looking about things, just followed my intuition and my curiosity, which I think is a very good tip for people. Just pause long enough to listen to yourself. Try and get quiet long enough to listen to that inner knowing, and just follow whatever you're interested in, what makes you happy. Just follow that intuition and just learn as much as possible. That's one thing that I've really learned over the years, be open to us learning as much as possible. So yeah, I did that. I followed my curiosity and went from one thing to another, and then I landed on this article about Moby, also again showing my age, who's a singer-songwriter, but he'd opened a tea bar in New York, and yeah, it just really sparked my curiosity. So I thought, wow, this sounds amazing, it's really interesting. I'm used to drinking tea bags dunked in hot water, taste of nothing, smells alright, but taste of nothing. This guy's opened a tea bar, it's really cool, trendy, there's celebrities going to it. Like, there's a mismatch, what's going on? So I went out and I got hold of some loose leaf tea. I think it was actually flavoured teas to start with. And I tasted them all in this one day, and I just thought, wow, this is incredible. These really taste amazing. Like, we're totally missing something in the UK. Why are we putting up with this? And for the first time in my life, it felt like my eyes had been opened, and I just thought there's so many more possibilities here. I'm not meant to be sitting as a lawyer for the next 30 years.
You don't regret the experience because it got you to where you are now, which I think is really key, right? So we don't always have to have it all figured out on day one.
No, definitely not. And it's very, very hard. There's a lot of talk about, oh, you need to find your purpose and work out what your one thing is. I mean, I think, yeah, that's so much pressure on people, and not everyone has one thing. It's about following your passions and following your curiosities, and it might change over time as well. And my business has certainly morphed and changed.
Great. Okay, so you had discovered loose leaf tea, and at that point it was a hobby, right? And at what point did it become a business?
No, I discovered it and I thought, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open something to do with tea in the UK. That was it. And I just had so many ideas. It was just like rushing. I was just writing down all my ideas. It was like the floodgates had been opened, and I just, yeah, they kept it flowing. But I had to go to a client event, like a work event that day, and it was at Walthamstow dog racing. And I remember it vividly. And I just did not want to go. I wanted to go home and just work on this amazing life plan that had just come to me. But I had to go to the dogs. And I remember 2 in the morning we got a coach back to London, and I sat at the back of the bus just writing all my notes away from everyone else. And then I got home, woke my husband up at some god awful time in the middle of the night and said, "Wake up, I've had an idea, I know what I'm going to do." And credit to him, he was ecstatic, he was pleased he got it. So yeah, he's been my biggest support along the way.
Brilliant, brilliant. It's funny because, I think a lot of times people often think it is going to be that light bulb moment. And then I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who were like, oh, no, no, actually it built over time. But yours really was. It was that moment where you just knew. That's amazing. What did you need to do in order to actually get it going? What were those first steps?
Yeah, probably wouldn't recommend the way I did it to people. So I first of all started just learning as much as I could. I used Business Gateway a lot, did all their free courses, went along to quite a lot of in-person ones as well. But then I realised that to actually get my business off the ground, if I stayed as a lawyer, it would probably never happen. So I made the decision to quit my job and just go all in. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. I think that was a bit drastic. Everyone thought I was crazy. Nobody understood it. Everyone thought, who's going to pay for a pot of tea? You're going to open a tea cafe. But yeah, so I ended up going backpacking to Sri Lanka and India by myself to stay with tea masters and learn all about tea, and it was a great journey. I learned a lot, but not the advice that I would give to my daughters. I would rather encourage them to sort of take it a bit slower and learn as they go, and maybe do a lot more research in their spare time and then start to build something up as a sort of side hobby, so you can start to test the market and see that it will work. But at some point you do just need to make that leap, and you need to have that belief and that passion.
Great. So did you open the cafe first, or did you start selling, or what were the first steps?
Well, first of all, I did some business plans and cash flow forecasts when I was living in London, and then decided actually we don't want to live in London forever. Why am I setting up a business? Let's move to Edinburgh. I'd found premises in central Edinburgh, but it was all last minute. I didn't even have time to go in and view them properly. I had to just make the decision. So again, I wouldn't recommend that. It's very impulsive, but it worked out. I just had a feeling, so I try as much as possible to trust my intuition and my gut. And I just knew this is a central Edinburgh site, good location. It's going to allow me to build up the brand and have more reach than somewhere not so central. So that's what I did. And at the same time, I'd set up my website. So I was selling from my spare room, shuffling off to the post office every day. So yeah, juggling it all.
Nice. And is there one or two particular wins that you're really proud of from your journey?
Oh yes, and it's always hard when you're sort of going forward momentum all the time, but it's good to sort of stop and take stock every so often. One of the highlights was being invited to Japan twice, and the last time was to go to take part in a trade fair, and I was to speak at a conference there as well, all about tea and the pause for tea to rebalance and thrive. So that was fantastic, and I was able to take my husband out. We got to travel around the tea fields in Uji region, and we found some lovely tea farmers and their families. We've got some really amazing suppliers from that trip, which we're still sourcing from. It was also good because we had two girls by that point, and we were just talking about it the other day, and I think it's really good for them to see me being able to do these different things and going off. It really helps to inspire them, I think, and to show them what's possible, because when I was growing up, my role models were definitely my parents, but I didn't have many role models for people that had gone off and done something completely different, which I think there's a lot more of that now. There's a lot more access to different paths in life now, which is really helpful.
That's really such a good point. And how about, obviously, lots of great wins, but what about the challenges? What have been some big challenges that you faced along the way, and how have you coped with them?
Wow, lots of challenges. The biggest one is myself and my mind, and I now coach people as well as part of, I've now got a sister business to Eteaket called the Tea Mind. So as part of that, we encourage people and we support them to use that pause for tea. And over the years, because I've realised that quite often it's my mind and myself that's been the mental block that's stopping me doing things, or self-sabotaging. We had huge opportunities to get a really big corporate client, and I realised at that time that I was self-sabotaging because I was scared to get the contract, because I didn't want to have a huge business that had a massive board of directors, and then I'd have to wear a suit, go back to wearing a suit and like being told what to do. I managed to work through that, and I used various techniques working on my mind and visualization. The mind is an absolutely wonderful thing if you just know how to use it and to tap into it. So that's been one of my biggest challenges, but also my biggest successes, and now I've incorporated it within my business and I'm able to support and help others to use it.
Thank you. And just on that, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but I wanted to probe. There's obviously a lot of tea companies out there. What is it that you really think makes etiquette unique, and why did it resonate the way that it did?
So I think what makes etiquette unique is really that way that we support people to bring people together and connect them to either to yourself or to other people through the power of tea, and using that pause to be balanced. And then we do all sorts of things. We've got our tea mind concept, which is based on the Chinese 5 elements. We use the power of tea routines. So when you're brewing your tea for 3 minutes, we suggest whether it's a gratitude exercise or a little journaling exercise or something. So it really makes it different, and because it's so unique to us as a business, it's not something that you can really copy, because it's going to be different every time we do it. So it's just elevates it, so it's much more than just tea. And then obviously there's the tea itself, because we do lots of amazing things with it, and we work with lots of different Scottish growers to, like, we've got our Isle of Harris gin tea, which is non-alcoholic, it's caffeine free, but we have a guy in Harris that hand dives for the sugar kelp. So just little points of difference like that, but always bringing it back to that pause for tea.
Yeah, it's so much more than the tea. It's about the whole experience and what it represents and how it brings people together. Okay, so just a few more questions before we close. If you were speaking to future, well, you are speaking to future entrepreneurs, what advice would you give them if they're thinking about going down this path?
I would say use this time while you are young to learn as much as possible, and to learn to be quiet and listen to your internal wisdom. Know what your inner guide, for want of a better word, is saying, and to learn to trust that, and then just follow your curiosity, follow your passion, have fun, and yeah, don't get bogged down in everything. And there's lots of negativity around there, so if you let it in, so be careful what you let in as well. Be aware of what you're surrounding yourself with. Like, we need to limit ourselves to what type of news and how much news we're watching as well. So find some positive sources of information and things that make you feel inspired and happy. Anything that you're going to learn from that's going to just keep you inspired, and just keep having fun and following your curiosity.
Such good advice, because it's so hard in today's world to find that quiet. So I love that. I think that's so good. Okay, my final question for you, and this might be unfair. This might be like asking you to choose your favorite child, but do you have a favorite kind of tea?
Oh, that is a tricky one. And I have to say, it depends on so many factors. It depends on the season that we're in, depends on how I'm feeling or how I want to feel. But if we go for right now, we're in winter at the moment, so it's all about the water element. So a nice white tea to help support me during this month of sort of dreaming and scheming. So like a nice silver needle or white peony, something like that would be really good.
Beautiful. Any final things you'd like to add?
I think something that comes up time and time again is self-worth and confidence, and learning how to really get to know yourself and love yourself, as cheesy as that sounds. And one thing that I do every time I walk past a mirror, if anyone's heard of Mel Robbins, it's the high five habit. So whenever you walk by a mirror, just give yourself a high five and go, well done, you're doing a good job, or you're doing the best that you can in this situation. And it works, and I do it automatically now. I don't even think about it. So yeah, try that. But yeah, work on loving yourself, because that's going to get you far. Otherwise, it can hold you back. And life's too short not to just go for it and have some fun.
Thank you so much, Erica. I have been inspired by talking to you, and I'm going to go find a mirror. And it's been really fantastic to learn from you and to hear from you and to see your amazing journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.